I want to become a host on Turo, but I just don't know what car to get. How do I find out?
So this is the most commonly asked question from just about everybody who's thinking about hosting a vehicle on Turo, and it is absolutely one of the most important questions that you need to be asking before you ever go out and invest in a car or a SUV or any kind of vehicle to host on the Turo platform. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through a basic market analysis for a vehicle that you have in mind, that you're really in love with this vehicle, you really think it'll do great on the Turo platform, and you just want to run out and buy it and get it listed. So we're going to walk through the process of making sure that that is the right vehicle for your market, and that you're going to do well with that vehicle and not regret that purchase a couple months down the road. All right, so let's jump into it. Okay, you're really excited because you've got your eye on a beautiful Toyota Camry down at the dealership, and you're just absolutely convinced that this is going to be a great car to put on the Turo platform in the city of Atlanta. But because you're an intelligent, thoughtful, careful person, you're going to do a little bit of research first, and you're going to come to the Turo website to do this basic research. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the city of Atlanta, of course, and then we're going to set a date range. Now, what you're going to do for your date range is you're going to need to set that pretty far out into the future to make sure that you get the largest sample size of vehicles in your inventory. If you set your date range out for, say, next week, that's going to bring up a very, very, very small percentage of the available Toyota Camrys in Atlanta because, most of them are booked out next week and they're not going to show up in our search results. So we're going to go out to September the 20th for our start date, and we're going to put in September the 26th for our end date. And we're going to do a week of data here. And the reason why we're doing a week is because some hosts choose to set 2 or 3 day minimums for their booking. So we want to make sure that we capture that in our data as well. So once you have your city and your date in here, you're going to click the search button. And this is going to bring you to all of the vehicle results in the city of Atlanta. And here's where you're going to start putting in some filters to drill down into the specific vehicle that you have your eye on down at the dealership, which is a Toyota Camry. Now, the first filter that we're going to set is the price. And for the price, we want to make sure that we're expanded all the way out here from 10 to 250 so that we capture all of the Toyota Camrys in the market regardless of price. Now we're going to come over here to the More filters, and this is where we're going to drill down into our make and model. So under make, of course, we're going to choose Toyota. And under model, we're going to choose our Camry, and we're just going to choose the base, just Camry, and that'll pull in the various trim levels and option levels there for you because we want to make sure that all of them are represented. Now, you'll see in our search results, we have 127 Toyota Camrys in the city of Atlanta. That's a lot of Camrys. And you must be thinking at this point, when you see that number in that purple box, oh my gosh, the market's saturated. A Camry would suck in Atlanta. Well, let's keep doing some research. So we're going to look at all of our results. Now, here's where we're going to start gathering some data and putting it together and making sense of how Camrys are actually performing in the city of Atlanta. We're going to look at 2 different pieces of information, and the first information that we're going to look at is the trip count. It's this number right here in parentheses, and what this is telling you is the number of completed trips that car has been on. So as you can see, this Camry right here doesn't have any trips. This one has 53 trips. This one has 4. This one has 6. This one has 2. 0 for that one. 135 for the hybrid. 123 for that one, 109, 0. You get the point. So what we're going to do is you're going to go through this entire inventory. And this is going to take you a little bit of time on this one because there's just so many vehicles out there. But you're going to go through and you're going to get an average. And we're going to add up the trip counts for every single vehicle and then divide that total number by 127 vehicles. And what that's going to give us is the average number of completed trips per car. Now, I've already done this math for you so that we don't have to spend time doing it on the video. For the Toyota Camry, when you calculate that average, it comes out to 35 trips per vehicle for the Toyota Camry. Now, the second piece of data that we're going to look at is the daily rate. We want to understand what these are booking for in the city of Atlanta. So we're going to come right here where you see the $29 per day for this one, $36 per day for this one. And we're going to do the same exercise. We're going to add up the rates for every single vehicle, and we're going to divide by 127. And the math that I've already done for you puts the average daily rate for a Toyota Camry at $53.91. We're going to round that up to 54 so that our brain doesn't hurt. All right, so what we've now discovered by looking at the Toyota Camrys on the platform is that there is 127 vehicles in the inventory. Each one has an average of 35 trips, and the daily rate, average daily rate, is $54 per day. Now, you might be thinking, oh gosh, that's a lot of Camrys. Is there really any room for any more? Now, you've got a buddy in the Facebook group who is just going on and on about his Mercedes C-Class over in his market doing so well, and you know, you're thinking, man, maybe I need to go with a Mercedes C-Class. Let's see what that looks like in my city. So here we're going to go up. We're going to keep our city and our date range the same, and we're going to keep our price wide open. And now we're going to do some analysis on the Mercedes C-Class. Let's compare the two. We go into our filters, and we're going to just change things up. We're going to pull up the Mercedes, and we're going to pull up the C-Class. And we're going to look at the results. And we have 98 Mercedes C-Class here in Atlanta. So it's fewer than the Camry. So, maybe I should go with the C-Class because the Camry looks like there's an awful lot of vehicles out there. Well, let's take a look at the data for the C-Class, and we're going to follow the exact same exercise that we did for the Camry. We're going to total up the trip counts. This one has 1, this one has 8, this one has 9, this one has 6, 10, 3, etc. We're going to go through every one of these, total up the total trip counts, and we're going to divide by 98 to get our average trip count. Now again, I've already done the math for you on this one, and guess what? The average trip count for a Mercedes C-Class is 8 trips per car. Camry had 35 trips per car. Our C-Class has 8 per car. Then we're going to do the same thing with our rates that we did with the Camry. We're going to add up all of the rates in our search results. We're going to divide by the number of cars, and what we find is that the average daily rate for a Mercedes C-Class is $87.65. So it is about $33 a day more than the Toyota Camry. But the trip count is really giving us some insight here. Now, I do one more thing with the calculation. Let's assume that every single completed trip was 1 day. Okay. I'm going to then take the number of trips times the rate, and with the assumption of every trip being a 1-day trip, I'm going to calculate the revenue, the earnings per car. And for the Toyota Camry, that comes out to, with 35 trips at an average rate of $54 per day, if every trip was a 1-day trip, that car is going to bring in $1,887 in earnings for the completed trips. When I go and do that same math for the Mercedes C-Class, I take 8 trips times the average daily rate of $87.65, and applying the assumption that every trip is a 1-day trip, each car brings in $701 in earnings. So here is an example where if you really have your eye set on a Toyota Camry and you're really scared because you see 127 of those in the market, you should still feel comfortable moving forward with a Toyota Camry as compared to the Mercedes C-Class. Because your Toyota Camry is going to get a lot more trips, even though it's at a lower rate, you're going to have a lot higher earnings. Whereas the Mercedes C-Class just isn't in as much demand in Atlanta, and it's generating a lot less in earnings. So this is a basic overview of when you have your eye on a vehicle, to be able to go in and collect this data and really see if that vehicle is going to perform in your market. Now, what if you really had your heart set on this C-Class? It's the only car you wanted to list on Turo. You love the way it looks. Everybody in Facebook is talking about how well it's doing in their market. But the data shows you that it's going to be kind of a drag having a Mercedes C-Class in the city of Atlanta. What do you do now? You still want to be a Turo host. How do you figure out which vehicle to look at next? Now, you really want to be a Turo host, and you just learned that the car that you really had your heart set on, or the SUV that you really had your heart set on, isn't going to be a great match for the city that you're hosting in. So what do you do now? Well, here's where you're going to need to spend some significant amount of time doing some research on that market as a whole, not just for one or two models, but the entire market. When I first started thinking about getting into Turo back in 2018, I took a whole month, and that's all I did for a month. I watched YouTube videos. I studied my market. I'm here in Detroit, and I just studied and studied and studied, and kind of basically did what I'm doing with you here. And that month of research really helped inform me on what kind of vehicles were going to perform well in my city. And I ended up putting together a fleet of 20 vehicles that actually performed very, very well. Strong utilization, strong earnings. So this is a very lengthy process to help you identify what cars are going to do well when the one you really wanted to host probably isn't going to. There's nothing magical about this process. It's just incredibly time consuming because instead of pulling together data on one or two vehicles, now you're pulling together data on hundreds, thousands of vehicles. We just completed the market analysis for Los Angeles, and it was over 5,000 vehicles. That market analysis alone took 10 hours, right around 10 hours to complete. So all of that to say, if your vehicle, the research you've done, and the vehicle that you want to host is just not going to be a great fit for your city, you can spend some time doing this research yourself, or you can let us do it. Let me and my team do a market analysis for you. We have a lot of them available on the carshareacademy.com website. We've already done several cities. We've got about 8 or 10 more at the time I'm making this video that are going to hit that library. But we also have a way for you to just request one. You can go on the website and select your, tell us what city you want us to do an analysis on. We're going to do the work for you. You just sit back, sit tight. We can have it to you in a few days, and that is going to then give you some very strong recommendations of what kind of vehicles that you should put in your market based on the market-wide data that we bring together and analyze. So we're happy to do this for you. Go to carshareacademy.com, and up in the menu, you're going to click on resources and then select market studies, and you'll see the ones that we have available for you. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you've got a car in mind that you really want to host, and I hope you'll jump on here and do that basic research. And I hope that car's a winner for you, and you get it up on the platform and it just kills it, and you're really super happy with the results you're getting. But if it isn't going to be a great fit, we're here to help you. Catch you later. Happy hosting.